Welcome, everybody. Today's presentation is a data overview looking at data for Harmony, Gwinnett County, and the state. The purpose of this presentation is to review and analyze data from the last 3 years. The data consists of teacher demographics, student demographics, and student achievement data. I will be using the data to identify trends and uncover areas in need of improvement. I will also be comparing the data for Harmony versus the data for Gwinnett County and the state. The first set of data we are going to look at is teacher demographics. This first graph shows years of experience for teachers. We have Georgia as the first cluster of data on the left, Gwinnett County in the middle, and Harmony on the right. We can see that the county and state are very consistent in their spread of experience over the 3 years and almost mirror each other, with the exception of the state having slightly more in the 1 to 10 year range and the county having slightly more in the 11 to 20 year range. An obvious difference we can see in this data is when we compare Harmony to the county and the state. First, Harmony did not have the consistency over the 3 years that county and state had. Second, Harmony did not have nearly as many in the 1 to 10 range, had significantly more in the 11 to 20 range, and had significantly more in the 21 to 30 range. It does look like by the 2016 to 2017 year, though, that Harmony got much closer to matching the county and state's distribution. This next set of data looks at the certification level of the teachers. Once again, we see the state and county essentially mirroring each other. They have roughly 45% of teachers with a master's degree, 30 to 35% with a bachelor's, 20% with a specialist, and under 5% with a doctoral. Both the state and the county remain consistent over the 3 years. Harmony had a drastic shift from year 1 to year 2, but remained consistent from year 2 to year 3. Although consistent, it was different from the county and the state. Harmony has more bachelor's and specialists, but less master's and no doctoral degrees. The final set of data on teacher demographics looks at teacher ethnicity. Here, we see that the state and county have roughly 70% white, 20% black, and the remaining 10% is split between Hispanic, Asian, Native American, and multiracial. Harmony differs a bit from the county and state as it has 98% white and 2% Hispanic. Now let's take a look at some of student demographics. The only accessible data for student ethnicity was for the most recent school year. Over 50% of Harmony students are white, 17% black, 17% Hispanic, 13% Asian. Gwinnett County is approximately 20% white, 30% black, 30% Hispanic, 10% Asian. The state is roughly 40% white, 40% black, 15% Hispanic, and 5% Asian. The program enrollment for Harmony has remained consistent over the past several years, with the exception of the percentage of students in gifted, which went from 0 in 2015 to 2016 to about 20% in 2016 to 2017. That number increased to nearly 25% the following year. Lastly, we will look at student attendance. We have access to data for Harmony and for Gwinnett County. We can see that from a high level, there has not been much change over the last 3 years, as the percentage has stayed in the upper 96% range. It did take a dip from the 2015 to 2016 school year to the 2016 to 2017 school year, but it was only 0.2 of a point for Harmony and 0.3 of a point for the county. And here at the bottom, we can see the most recent years showed an average days absent for Harmony of about 5. Now let's dive into the student achievement data. The first set of student achievement data we are going to look at is the College and Career Ready Performance Index, also called CCRPI. There are several important points to take away from this graph. First of all, we can see that both Harmony and Gwinnett County have consistently scored higher than the state of Georgia over the past 3 years. Over the last 2 years, they have outscored the state by a much larger amount. We can also see that Harmony has consistently increased its score each year. It has increased its score by nearly 14% from 3 years ago. Meanwhile, the county has increased by just 2.5% over the 3 years and had a lower score in 2016 to 2017 than it did the previous year. The state of Georgia actually had a decrease in its score from 3 years ago, as it has dropped by nearly 4%. Based on the growth shown by Harmony and the lack thereof from the county and state, it appears Harmony will continue to widen the gap between its CCRPI score and that of Gwinnett County and the state of Georgia. I did not have access to the state's scores for Iowa assessments, so for this one, I will be reviewing Harmony and Gwinnett County only. The Iowa assessments provide insight into how the school and county compare to other schools across the United States. For example, Harmony's score of 66% for the 2016 to 2017 school year indicates that it scored the same or better than 66% of schools across the country for that year. As we can see from the graph, Harmony has received a higher NPR national percentile rank than the county over the last 3 years. The spread was exactly the same the first 2 years, with Harmony scoring 10 points higher than Gwinnett County. In year 3, however, Harmony scored 14 points. Harmony remained consistent with its ranking, while the county has seen a slow decrease in its ranking. Based on 3-year trend, it appears Harmony will remain in the 60 to 70 percentile range, while the county seems to be heading towards the 50th percentile range. The Georgia Milestones Assessment System tests 5th graders in 4 subject areas: English and Language Arts, Mathematics, Science, and Social Studies. Students' results are reported using levels, with the proficient level indicating a student is prepared for the next grade level. The following 4 graphs show the percentage of students who scored at the proficient level or higher across each subject area. We will compare the results for Harmony, Gwinnett County, and the state of Georgia. For English and Language Arts, we can see a consistent spread where Harmony has had a higher percentage of students reach proficient or better than has Gwinnett County, and Gwinnett County has had a higher percentage than that of the state of Georgia. Harmony has hovered around the 60th percent mark. The county has floated between 45 and 50%, while the state has stayed steady at roughly 40%. Looking at mathematics, we see a very similar spread. Harmony is still outperforming the county, and the county is outperforming the state. There is roughly a 10% difference between Harmony and the county each year, and roughly the same difference between the county and the state each year. All 3 had roughly the same percentage of proficient or better students for math as they did English and Language Arts. The next 2 subjects, Science and Social Studies, see a significant drop in the percentage of proficient students for Harmony, Gwinnett County, and the state. We still see the same spread in terms of Harmony beating out the county and the county beating out the state, but all 3 fell way short of their performance in math, English, and Language Arts. In science, Harmony failed to hit 50% proficient in the 2014 to 2015 school year after hovering around 60% for the previous subject areas. It did manage to break through and reach the low 50s in each of the next 2 years, while Gwinnett County showed growth but remained in the 40s and the state stayed in the 30s. The weakest of all 4 subject areas for Harmony, Gwinnett County, and the state of Georgia was Social Studies. Harmony, although seeing a jump from year 1 to year 2 of 9 percentage points, was still barely able to cross the 50th percent proficient or better mark and averaged just shy of 49% over the 3 years. Gwinnett County averaged just under 39% and the state only 30%. It seems clear from the Georgia Milestones Assessment System data that Harmony, the county, and the state should put a heavier focus on both science and social studies in the coming years. This leads us into the final few minutes of this presentation, where we will discuss areas of improvement. The areas that need the most improvement are science and social studies. If we recall, the data from the Georgia Milestones Assessment showed that Harmony had about a 10 percentage point difference in its proficient students for ELA and math versus science and social studies. The county and state have the same issue, but they had even less proficient students. Harmony averaged about 60% proficient for ELA and math, but only about 50% for science and social studies. An interesting data set that could explain why this discrepancy exists is the amount of instruction time per subject. This graph shows the minutes per day spent on each subject at Harmony Elementary. As we can see, science and social studies are lumped together and get significantly less time for instruction, in some cases less than half the time of other subjects. A couple of questions we need to ask in order to address the low proficiency levels for science and social studies are as follows. First, how can we reallocate time to provide additional instruction for science and social studies? Second, how can we ensure that an increased focus on science and social studies will not adversely affect ELA and math performance? Finally, a couple of next steps for everyone. Discuss these questions with each other to come up with some viable solutions. Collaborate with one another to generate ideas for integrating science and social studies materials into reading and writing.